Hi, I'm the Reverend Deborah Swift. I'm pastor of South Presbyterian Church and the Acts of Faith community in Rochester, New York. I delivered the following State of the Church address at the annual meeting of the congregation and the corporation on February 25th, 2018. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint and grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. That is the NRSV version of Isaiah 40, verses 28 to 31. It's an odd phrase, state of the church. I can think of several states we might be in: a state of confusion, a state of panic, a state of fear. But I think the state that best describes us as we begin 2018 is a state of grace. Every year at this time when we're preparing the annual report, I'm struck by the sheer force and audacity of what it is that God is doing through us. It is almost too much to comprehend sometimes, isn't it? That a wee kirk of 50 or so members should have nearly 20 ministries, that in 2017 touched the lives of 1,350 different people, with more than 10,000 contact points. Think about that. That means that more than 10,000 times last year, people bumped up against Jesus through us, because our acts of faith go where they are, and they meet people's needs in their own environment. It's exhilarating and exciting. It's humbling and sobering. It's spirit-led and grace-filled. The concepts of not being wedded to a specific place, of being willing to try something and let it go if it's not working, of listening to people about what they need instead of telling them what we think they need, of empowering and training participants to lead themselves, those are all bedrock to the Acts of Faith model. And lest we forget where the model came from, it's very much akin to the first century church. We are aligning our circles together. That's where the Acts, A-C-T, part of the Acts of Faith name came from. Bringing the circles of our lives together, because church should be the whole of us, not some partitioned or compartmentalized part that surfaces only on Sunday mornings. We are all in this together. We all take care of each other. No one person and no act of faith has to be all things to all people. And everything is an act of faith. It is not a sit around and do nothing faith. It's an act of faith. And it's not just an act that we do because it feels good or it looks good on our resume. It's something that we do because of our faith. However, it's also clear from this report that we have our work cut out for us in the year ahead as we work to become one congregation, incorporating not only our folks transferring their membership from New Life upon its dissolution, but every person who feels part of an act of faith. That we continue to develop our structures, policies, and procedures to govern and connect our multi-sited ministries that currently take place in 8 different neighborhoods. We address the financial needs of our AOFs while developing a plan for sustainability and longevity, and that we find and develop new ways of training and educating the next generation of leaders for all of our acts of faith. We are, above all else, a church of Jesus Christ. We are a missional church without a building. We might do church differently than most, but our mission, vision, calling remains, quote, to live out the command of Jesus, go out and train everyone you meet, far and near, in my way of life. That is the Message version of Matthew 28:18. We embody our commitment to be a missional church through the practice of our Acts of Faith model of ministry and fostering grassroots programs that spread the love of the risen Christ through worship, education, and the arts. We hold that all believers are the hands and heart, the embrace and healing presence of Christ's love, acceptance, justice, and joy in the world. That is our mission statement, adopted in 2016. We have been amazingly successful at bringing the love of God to 1,350 different people in 2017. We seem to know how to do that part pretty well. We know how to do startup and publicity, but our online presence and social media is dreadfully lacking. We know how to end AOFs well, at least better than the old Presbyterian tradition of, if it's not working, let's create a committee or a task force to study it for 3 years and figure out why it's not and then fix it. If people associated with an AOF, either the planners, the participants, or the observers, no longer have energy and excitement for it, we discontinue it immediately. Drop it like a hot potato, as we say. Because the timing, the focus, the location, or something else just isn't working yet. It's not the right time for it. We will often come back and visit it again another time, witness dinner and a movie which had at least 2 iterations before its current revival. But now we need to focus on how to coordinate and meet the needs of the AOFs that are succeeding so that they can continue to do that with energy and excitement. So what might that look like in the year ahead? Well, I suspect that we will continue to develop ministries that are responsive to the needs and interests of people in our community, and that in 2018 we will begin to synthesize some policies and procedures about how to do that. So far, we've been able to feel our way along with each group, but now we've been at it long enough that some patterns are beginning to emerge. What are the first things that AOFs do? What does each one need to have? What are expectations that AOF leaders might have of South Church, and vice versa? These will all become a little clearer, I think, as the AOF Council becomes one of our main mechanisms for conveying information to and from the session. Through a recent visit from staff of the Presbyterian Foundation, the session realized that we have to think of ourselves on 2 levels simultaneously. Administering the acts of faith locally, that is, being the local church, and at the same time sharing what we are doing with the larger, that is, the national church. We are not just a little local parish. We are being sought out for our ideas to help other churches across the country. It's as if we're flying at 5,000 foot level and at a 25,000 foot level at the same time. The skills needed to pilot at 5,000 feet and the emphasis of what we're doing there are different from the skills needed to pilot at 25,000 feet and the emphasis of what we're doing there. We are growing our ministries organically. That means that we allow them to bubble up from among the people. We don't force some specific structure and programming on folks just because it might be easier for us to manage or because, quote, it's always been done that way. We must keep learning and growing in our faith. Part of the challenge to us is that we're building the road as we walk on it. No one else is doing what we are doing on the grand scale that we are doing it. And let us not forget that we are not doing this work. God is. It's our job to pay attention and to be where we need to be so that God can work through us. In order for us to pay attention, we have to have a clear channel to God. Each one of us needs to be working on her or his own spiritual life, our individual relationship with God, so that we can trust that we are receiving God's signals free from interference. 2018 needs to have a focus on our own spiritual disciplines. We succeed when all of us are focused on God and when we are able to trust each other's prayerful discernment. A year from now, we will all have incorporated a new understanding of who we are. We're still very young in this model. Some of our acts of faith will probably have been discontinued, and others will have been added. We will be living in a united identity as South Church. But always in the back of my mind, and I think in the minds of most session members, is, are we at our limit? How many AOFs can one merry little band of believers support? There is no set number. Financially speaking, we have four kinds of acts of faith. We have those that generate some income that can be used to help support other acts of faith. There are those that are self-sufficient but may not be able to do much financially to help other AOFs. There are those that cost us money to operate and will never be able to generate much income to support themselves or anyone else. And then there are those that don't take in any money but that don't cost us anything either. Currently, we have acts of faith in each of those categories. We are a missional church. Ideally, we should be able to focus only on the mission and everything else would be taken care of for us, right? Historically, other churches, institutions, individuals, and even governments would support mission work around the globe. Many of us grew up welcoming missionaries from Africa or Asia or South America into our services and coffee hours. We would pass the hat, raise money for them, and send them on their way. Now, we are those missionaries who need to go and ask for that kind of support. Hence, the addition of both an evangelism coordinator and the Speakers Bureau. This must become a coordinated effort in 2018. Let's not forget, though, that in terms of mission giving, our entire operating budget is mission giving. Everything we do is mission work. And as the pastor, I am greatly heartened and gratified when an act of faith, which is itself a mission of South Church, engages in its own mission work, like Micah Circle's visit to Nicaragua to do hands-on work at Christmas, or Class Act putting together a bucket of supplies for disaster relief, or Food for Thought, not only doing disaster buckets, but making meals for homeless shelters quarterly. Isaiah says, "I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." That's the NRSV version of Isaiah 43:19. Every act of faith is a way through the wilderness to those who are part of it. Every single one is a river in the desert in our self-centered and frightened culture. We started on our new way of being in August of 2014 when we sold the church building. At that time, we gave ourselves 7 years to figure things out and become financially sustainable. February 2018 is the halfway point of the 7 years. This year, we need to take the time and honor the things that we've accomplished on this half journey and look at what we still have left to do. Since 2014, we have relocated our offices, prepared to launch the BOP program, completed our staff so we now have 3 full-time people in the hub of our operation. We've received financial support for our acts of faith from the Synod, the National 1001 New Worshiping Communities Initiative, and the Presbytery. We've received recognition from the national denominational offices and been the subject of articles for the Presbyterian News Service. We've presented workshops at a national PCUSA conference, completed a 3-year process of welcoming another church and its 5 acts of faith under our umbrella. We've presented a day-long training for member churches in our own presbytery and created a new membership model. We regularly attended the denominational 1001 New Worshiping Communities conferences. We've started visioning and resource development teams to use the skills of community volunteer professionals. We have more than doubled the number of different people whose lives have been touched by our ministries within 1 year. We've shared our experiences, processes, and insights with folks on the National Revitalization Team of the PCUSA. We welcomed 2 ministers from the Prairie States American Baptist Church who wanted to experience the AOF model in person. And we welcomed Reverend Ray Jones from Louisville for a 4-day stay to learn about the AOF model. We've succeeded in getting 1001 New Worshiping Community status for Fellowship of Faith, and we have begun developing a financial strategy that will move us towards sustainability and more. And some of the things that we still have to address in the next 3.5 years include developing a renewable funding stream, creating a stewardship model that is active for 12 months of the year, welcoming our first church members who do not worship in either of our Sunday morning services. We still have to figure out how to successfully blend the session and deacons in a larger base of participants. That is, to have members of all acts of faith on our caring teams list, and paving the way for members who worship at a non-Sunday service to eventually serve as deacons and elders for all of South Church. To figure out the best day, time, and place to have congregational meetings, since we don't worship in one singular location. We still have to determine who controls the money given to various acts of faith, which means delineating the degree of autonomy that each AOF should have. If money is given to one AOF, should or could it ever be used to support the larger South Church of which it is a part? We have to figure out how to increase everyone's awareness of their place in the larger AOF community and the connectional system that is South Presbyterian Church. We have to continue to minister on the margins and to make BOP self-sustaining. In other words, we have to live into our mission, vision, calling with integrity. And I'm sure there's more. We are well on our way, but our work is not done. If anyone can do it, God can. The state of our church, God knows. Thus far, the energy and excitement index remains strong. And so it is that despite our frailties and imperfections, despite our human nature and foibles, despite our vulnerabilities and weaknesses, we dare to pray, put us where you want us, and show us what to do, God. And with the ongoing presence of the Holy Spirit, we will continue to do just that, because God does know where we're going, and we can trust that. Rejoice in the Lord, and again I say, rejoice.